The late autumn air has a certain quality. One morning, as soon as you step outside, the fragrance gets cooler. The leaves are almost completely gone. You can sense that winter is approaching when the sun sets earlier. I've now experienced more than 70 winters. Some are simple, while others are challenging. If there is one thing I am certain of, it is that your preparation for the season can have a significant impact. Winter can be lovely and serene, but it can also be challenging, particularly if you are unprepared. For this reason, I'd like to offer 9 things I personally do each year before winter begins. These aren't theories or stuff I've read in books. They are directly derived from experience. These tiny actions have kept me healthy, cozy, and composed during even the most severe cold spells, from saving money on heating to keeping your body warm and your heart stable. First, make sure your heating system is working properly. I always put on the heat in October. I only do it to make sure it is functioning, even if I don't currently require it. Many years ago, I had to learn that lesson the hard way. The first significant cold snap occurred in late November, a few days before Thanksgiving. I believed I was prepared. Nothing happened when I turned on the thermostat. There was only frigid air and solitude, no fan or heat. As it happened, my furnace had, during the summer, softly and abruptly give up. I also had to wait 5 whole days before a repairman could come to me because I hadn't tested it before. I recall trying to remain warm while sitting at the kitchen table with 3 sweaters on and a cup of lukewarm coffee. It seemed like the longest weekend of my life. I haven't waited since. I turn on the heat early every autumn. I keep an ear out for odd sounds. I look for warm air streaming through the vents. Even if the filter appears clean, I change it. And before the rush begins, I call someone if something feels strange, whether it's a sound, a scent, or just a feeling. Because when winter really strikes, all of the town's technicians becomes fully booked. Now is the time to ensure that your gas or electric furnace is ready. Until the first actual freeze, some people don't think about it, and by then it might be too late. In the winter, your heating system is like your heart. It sustains everything else. Additionally, staying warm becomes more than just comfortable as we age. It's about peace of mind, safety, and wellness. Do yourself a favor then. Check your system before winter arrives. Give it some time to run. Take in the warmth. Additionally, get it checked out right away if you smell something odd or hear clanking. It might save you a ton of cold, money, and time. Evenings. Second, make sure your house is weatherproof. Living in an older home like mine makes you experience the changing of the seasons both within your living room and outside. I recall spending a year near the window in my favorite chair. Even though it was just October, I had a shiver down my spine. Perhaps it was just me, I reasoned. However, the flame turned sideways when I lighted a candle and held it close to the window. Like a robber, that draft was creeping in. I've since figured out how to beat the cold. One of the best ways to stay warm without turning up the heat or worrying about your power costs is to weatherproof your house. Go higher than your roof. Check your doors and windows first. On a windy day, feel around the edges with your hands. Even a small amount of air coming through indicates that your warm air is leaving and the cold is entering. I enjoy using weather stripping, those tiny rubber or foam seals to cover the spaces. They are inexpensive, simple to install, and have a significant impact. Door draft stoppers at the base of doors leading outside can also be used. Once I made mine from an old towel, and it was perfect. Thermal drapes or heavy curtains can also be quite beneficial. A few years ago, I recall making the move to insulated curtains. I didn't need to raise the heat as much because the living room remained warmer. The entire house felt cozier as a result. Covering disused electrical outlets on external walls is another tactic I've learnt. Despite their diminutive size, they have the capacity to let in unexpectedly large volumes of chilly air. Small foam inserts that fit under the outlet covers are available for purchase. They are inexpensive and functional. Remember your crawl area or attic as well. It's like keeping a window open all winter if your insulation is worn out or thin because heat rises. The entire attic doesn't need to be redone. In trouble areas, even adding an additional layer of insulation can have a discernible impact. Ultimately, comfort is only one aspect of weatherproofing. It has to do with control. You are taking charge of your finances, your health, and your warmth when you take the time to seal up your house, and it is worthwhile to do it. Third, before the storms arrive, stock up on necessities. I have discovered that winter does not serve as a warning. One day you are raking leaves, and the next day the wind is howling and your driveway is covered with snow. Because of this, I always make it a point to stock up ahead of the crowds, shortages, and price increases. Panic buying is not what I mean. I'm referring to mental tranquility. When the roads are, the last thing I want is to have to drive to the store when it's slick or snowing quickly. So while the weather is still nice, I check my supplies, replenish my medications, and stock my food. For me, that means having enough non-perishable food on hand for at least 2 weeks. Items such as shelf-stable milk, canned soup, dry beans, pasta, rice, peanut butter, and crackers. I also have muesli, tea, and instant coffee on hand for quick, warm lunches. You'd be shocked at how cozy a hot bowl of soup can be on a chilly night, particularly when there are power outages or the roads are too slippery to drive on. Another major one is medicine. I take a couple of prescription drugs on a regular basis and I create. I am certain that I never run out of energy during the winter. In case there are delays or weather disruptions, I make an early call to the pharmacist to request refills. Make sure you have adequate batteries or backup power sources if you utilize medical gadgets. Then there are the small things, but they are important. I make sure I have enough toilet paper and tissues, check the torch batteries, and store candles and matches in a drawer I can access in the dark. I even save a few gallons of water in case something goes wrong. It may seem straightforward, but having these items indoors makes a huge difference when everything is frozen outdoors. Additionally, I always notify my children and grandchildren when I have stocked up. They also feel at ease because of it. I don't want them to worry about whether I have food or supplies in the event of a disaster because they lead busy lives. Being ready in advance is not a sign of fear, it's knowledge. It is looking forward out of love for your family, yourself, and the life you have created rather than out of concern. So enjoy a peaceful afternoon. Before winter arrives, make a list and gather the necessities. Fourth, avoid falls. Defend yourself from the inside out. As we grow older, we discover that winter offers more than just chilly weather. It carries hazards that we occasionally ignore until it's too late. In the winter, one of the biggest risks is something falling is easy but serious. The moment I slipped on the front steps is still fresh in my mind. There was only a little snowfall in early December. I had left to look in the mailbox. I shouldn't have gone outside in my house shoes. One tiny area of ice. I went down after taking one incorrect step. For weeks my hip hurt. I was fortunate. It might have been considerably worse. That experience altered my perspective on winter safety. I don't take chances these days. My porch steps now have handrails on both sides. Before I go outside, I make sure the paths surrounding my house are salted and free of snow. I make use of a tiny snow shovel, and when harsh weather strikes, I seek for assistance. I used to be obstinate about it, but these days I regard asking for assistance as wisdom inside the home, and not as a sign of weakness. In the corridor and by the loo, I installed additional lights. I installed non-slip mats in the bathroom and kitchen. I also never wear socks and walk on tile floors. In case the power goes out and I need to get about securely, I have a torch on my nightstand. Footwear is also important. I purchased a pair of strong, well-gripped winter boots, not for style but for practicality. A safe step or a tumble can be determined entirely by the bottom of your shoes. Little things can sometimes be the most beneficial. To avoid having to reach or climb, I relocate the items I use on a daily basis to lower shelf. I removed any loose carpets that could clump together. I also take my time. One of the most important lessons is that don't rush. Slow and steady truly does win the race in the winter. Falling is more than an accident. It may result in hospital stays, protracted recuperations, or worse for us. Fortunately, most falls are preventable. You can safeguard your body, freedom, and peace of mind with a few easy adjustments and a little extra care. Fifth, get your car ready for the winter. Your automobile still requires maintenance before winter arrives, even if you only drive a few times a week. Like most things, I had to learn the lesson the hard way. When I walked outside to start the automobile one year in early January, all I could hear was a clicking sound. The battery had run out. The outdoor temperature was 15 degrees. With my keys in hand, I stood there and regretted not being better prepared. Since then, I take the car in for a winter inspection every year about the middle of November. I don't hold off till the ground is covered in snow. I request that the mechanic inspect the brakes, tires, battery, and fluids, particularly the antifreeze. Tires that are worn out or a weak battery can make a short drive into a major issue if the weather gets bad. I make sure the tire pressure is at the proper level because it can drop in the cold. In case I need it, I also have a tiny tire gauge in the glove box. Investing in winter tires may be worthwhile if you live in a location that has snow or ice. They significantly improve safety and grip. I have an emergency kit in the car. Nothing special, simply something I could require in case I get trapped. A cap, gloves, protein bars, a couple bottles of water, a tiny torch with extra batteries, and a cozy blanket. In case something goes wrong, I also have a phone charger that I can put into my car. While I'm out, my phone dies. My son taught me to always keep the petrol tank at least halfway full in the winter. In addition to being wise in the event of a traffic jam or snowstorm, it helps keep the fuel lines from freezing. Cleaning the windscreen wipers and replacing them if they are worn out or broken is another habit I developed. In the cold, having clear visibility is essential. To prevent it from freezing, I also top off the windscreen washer fluid with one designed for cold climates. Taking care of your automobile is a part of taking care of yourself, even if you merely drive to the grocery store, the pharmacy, or church. Because when it's cold, an automobile issue is more than just inconvenient. It might be risky. Future seasons will be safer and more seamless with a little attention today. Sixth, modify your diet to maintain your strength and warmth. My appetite always shifts when the temperature drops. I can survive on light meals and cold beverages during the summer. However, my body begs for warmth when winter arrives. I've also developed my listening skills throughout the years. In addition to providing comfort, the food we eat throughout the winter affects our energy, immunity, and general well-being. I make an effort to eat foods that make me feel warm within. Among my favorites are muesli, stews, and soups. I prepare a large pot of vegetables. Every other week I make soup, freeze portions, and reheat them for a quick lunch. Warm beverages are also beneficial. Naturally, I have coffee first thing in the morning, but I also like herbal teas. Warm water with lemon, chamomile, or ginger tea. Ginger is excellent for digestion and circulation. In the afternoons, especially when it's chilly and gray outdoors, I always have a little thermos of tea with me. I also focus on consuming adequate amounts of healthy fats and protein. Eggs, beans, salmon, and chicken all contribute to a consistent energy level. I find that nuts, seeds, and a small amount of olive oil keep me full without making me feel heavy. I attempt to limit my intake of salt and sugar. Comfort foods are simple to grab for when it is cold, but I've discovered that consuming too much of those might make me feel bloated or lethargic. I make sure to take a lot of vitamins because winter is also flu season. I consume more sweet potatoes, spinach, and oranges. Because they are packed at their best, frozen vegetables can be just as delicious, if not better, if fresh food is too costly or difficult to get. Not to be overlooked is water. Because we don't perspire as much in the winter as we do in the summer, it is simple to drink less water. However, maintaining hydration improves digestion, energy, and joint health. One of the best methods to take care of yourself throughout the winter is to eat healthily. It maintains your immune system robust, improves your quality of sleep, and provides you with the strength to move more easily. Warm food can do more than just satisfy your hunger, as I usually say. It can make you feel better. Seventh, protect yourself from seasonal infections by being vaccinated against the flu. I've never been the kind to visit the doctor for every minor issue. Most of the time when we were growing up, we persevered. However, as I've grown older, I've discovered that some things are worthwhile. Not out of fear, but out of concern. One of those things is receiving a flu vaccination. I schedule a flu vaccination appointment at my neighborhood drugstore or clinic every fall, generally in early October. I have peace of mind for the entire season, and it just takes a few minutes. I recall skipping it one year. I assumed I would be all right. However, I was bedridden with the illness by the middle of December. Cough, chills, fever, everything. I was unconscious for over 10 days. My hunger vanished. I was unable to fall asleep. It seemed like climbing a mountain to even get up to make tea. I made a self-promise to never experience that again if I could. The flu vaccination has since been a part of my fall regimen, similar to making the first apple pie of the season and taking the sweaters out of storage. For me, it goes beyond simply defending myself. It's about supporting the folks I care about. I am not a burden to my children when I maintain my health. I don't miss holidays or birthdays. I am able to be present for the important occasions. Particularly as we age, the flu can be dangerous. The strength of our immune systems has diminished. Furthermore, a sickness that may seem harmless to a younger person can become more serious to us. All of that can be avoided with a fast visit for a flu vaccination. And let's face it, nobody wants to lose out on the season by spending the winter cooped up in bed. Books are available for reading and calls to create, bake cookies, and perhaps even watch snow fall outside the window. All of that is taken away when one is ill. Therefore, don't wait until the start of flu season. Make a note, arrange a visit, and complete the task. Even if it is a tiny step, it has a significant impact. Both your body and those who love you will appreciate it. Eighth, even in the cold, re-establish a connection with nature. Going outside on a crisp, cool morning has a unique quality. The sky is slightly clearer, the air is sharper, and even the barren trees have a quiet strength about them. I've discovered throughout the years that winter is not a time to avoid. It's a season to be mindful of. The majority of my childhood winters were spent racing through them, traveling from the house to the car and back to the store, constantly attempting to stay warm. I now take it more slowly, though. Even though the sun is bashful in the morning, I let the light in by opening the drapes. I watch the birds congregate around the feeder while sipping my tea near the window. When the pavements are dry, I go for quick walks while wearing my coat and scarf and taking in the chilly air. I can improve my mood and clear my thoughts by spending even 10 or 15 minutes outside. Being grounded has a certain quality. Near the natural world, even when it is resting soundly, the snow-covered grass, the naked limbs, and the silence. They serve as a reminder that each season has its own unique charm. Winter is not the end of life. It simply softens and slows down. I bring some nature inside when the weather is too bad. On the kitchen counter, I have a little plant. I listen to birdsong recordings. I let some fresh air into the room by opening a window for a short while. The house feels lighter and less cramped thanks to these small gestures. I've discovered that maintaining a connection with nature aids in maintaining a connection with myself. It lessens the loneliness that winter might occasionally bring. It serves as a reminder that I am still a part of something greater, more stable, and more vibrant. Let the season show you all it has to offer if you can go outside, gaze up at the sky, and feel the breeze on your face. One silent breath at a time, winter is something to experience rather than to endure. 9. Make a strategy for your body and mind's comfort during the winter. It is easy to feel as though the world is slowing down when the days get shorter and the nights get colder. There are fewer visits, fewer phone calls, and a little louder silence throughout the house. For this reason, I think we should have what I refer to as a winter comfort strategy. It's not difficult for me. There are only a few things I am excited about. Things that bring a little warmth to the body and soul throughout the long nights and peaceful days. I begin with my comfort shelf, a little nook in the living room where I store the items that bring me joy, a small box of letters from my grandchildren, a soft blanket, an antique photo album, and a few of my favorite books. At times, I simply sit with them and let the memories to envelop me, like sunlight passing through a chilly window. I also compile a list of little pleasures, not significant occasions like playing my favorite old game or baking cookies on a snowy afternoon, phoning an old acquaintance only to hear their familiar voice, or letting melodies fill the space. These are the times that make the season tolerable, even lovely. Warmth and movement provide the body with comfort. Every morning, I stretch a little to prevent stiffness. When my back hurts, I use a heating pad, and I make sure to wear layers of clothing to be warm without getting too hot. In the evening, I put on my coziest quilt, sip tea, and light candles. The harshness of the cold is lessened by these customs. However, avoiding discomfort is not the only aspect of comfort. It is about establishing a physical and emotional space where you feel secure, satisfied, and adored. All you need is a little self-compassion, a little preparation, and a little intention. So consider what makes you feel at ease. It may be knitting, solving puzzles, or enjoying hot chocolate while taking in the snowfall. Make space for whatever it is. Make plans since winter will arrive as it always does, and you should be able to endure it comfortably and prepared. We tend to slow down in the winter. However, it doesn't have to prevent us from leading fulfilling lives. This season can be one of tranquility, comfort, and quiet joy with a little planning and care. Although these 9 stages are straightforward, they are based on years of expertise, from a strong desire to live sensibly and from lessons discovered the hard way. I hope you find something useful here. Your days will be warmer and your nights will be easier if you do even one small thing. Recall that self-care is not selfish. For the people we care about, it is how we remain resilient, connected, and in the moment. Share this video with a friend or neighbor if it was helpful to you. Together, we are navigating the changing of the seasons. Until the next time, remember to take excellent care of yourself. Remain warm and take care.